Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here to help us celebrate the completion of the Arroyo, a new bridge housing site that will help bring 85 women home safely. This has been a period of isolation since March when COVID began, and a time of reckoning since George Floyd was murdered at the end of May, almost 2 months ago. How do we combat isolation and face such a reckoning as we look at our own and our community's racism? I believe we overcome the loneliness, the isolation, and the challenges of self-reflection with a deeper commitment to our community. This morning, we are celebrating being of community and the creation of community here at the Arroyo. I want to share some brief background on this site and thank those who made it possible. And then we will welcome our mayor, city councilwoman, state assembly member to share remarks as well. LA Family Housing is coming full circle today with the opening of the Arroyo. Beginning in the early 80s, we were operating the region's cold winter shelter here at the former Sylmar Armory site. We operated that shelter for nearly 2 decades. Around 2007, in favor of a 24/7 model of interim or bridge housing, LA Family Housing elected to no longer run the winter shelter. However, when Supervisor Kuehl was elected, one of our first efforts together was to secure this site and convert it into a model of that year-round, service-enriched, interim bridge housing for women. Molly Reisman, as the supervisor's homeless deputy, you were a fierce advocate of this move, leading our weekly meetings with, I think, 13 lawyers from the county in order to make this happen. In addition, you led the Sylmar Community Input Board that helped guide the design for this site. You remained committed to the engagement of this community, hearing each other's thoughts, receiving feedback, and never shying away from the pushback. This day truly belongs to you, and I thank you. Heidi Marston, we are excited and grateful to LASA for your leadership in helping define the population and the program operations that will be here at the Arroyo. 4 years ago, it was LASA's ad hoc committee on women experiencing homelessness that shed light on the unique experiences and trauma women face while living unsheltered. This beautiful haven of the Arroyo, which will have an entirely female-identified staff, is designed to nurture and lift up the women living here with its beautiful gardens, warm, cooling colors, yoga studios, art therapy programs, mental health support. This is a place of healing as we help women navigate their path into permanent homes. In addition, we have 15 dedicated beds of recuperative care that will be operated by our partners at Serenity Health to meet the physical and medical needs of our residents as well. Mayor Garcetti, thank you for making it possible to celebrate this morning. Thank you for your leadership on developing interim housing throughout our city, a bridge home. It takes all of us to create that bridge, and we're grateful that you are leading the effort. None of us expected the obstacles, delays, or costs for each project, but you have never wavered on your support to see these sites developed, especially during this extraordinary time. Councilwoman Rodriguez is a champion of our community, and without the allocation of $3.6 million of HEAP funds, this project would not have been possible. We are proud to be involved in multiple projects with you and your team, from the permanent move of the Bradley Paxton encampment and all of its participants moving inside, to the construction of permanent supportive housing for veterans at the Summit View site. We are in this together. And Assemblywoman Rivas, thank you for your leadership at the state and for your policy support that continues to meet the needs of women and families experiencing homelessness in our district, in this district. I'm looking forward to providing a tour of this magnificent site, but at this time, I'm proud and honored to introduce our mayor, Eric Garcetti.
Thank you to our sprayer, Alex, first and foremost. Thank you to everybody who is here. And thank you, let me just start by thanking Stephanie and the entire staff of LA Family Housing. This is an extraordinary organization that from soup to nuts understands that homelessness is about whole human beings and that answers have to address the needs of individuals experiencing homelessness in context, in community, in family, with work, with trauma, with healthcare, with services. And this is a reflection of that today. So congratulations to you. I hope everybody out there who doesn't know about LA Family Housing will look them up and help support them, help volunteer for them, even in this crisis. Let me then next thank Supervisor Sheila Kuehl and Molly Reisman, without whom we wouldn't be here today. It is a reflection of who they are and what they believe in, that 85 beds for women are opening here in the San Fernando Valley, in an amazing city within a city, a place that I was born in, a place that I grew up in, and to have two extraordinary sisters in service with me here, starting with the Councilwoman, without whom this would not have happened as well, Monica Rodriguez, who is looking for solutions, who is looking for ways to make sure that we don't just have rhetoric, but that we have results. And Luz Rivas, who served with us in the city as a Public Works Commissioner, has been a leading voice for women and for girls in science and STEM and so many things, and has done an extraordinary job now as an Assembly member as well. And we thank the Assembly for adding, together with the State Senate, $300 million additional dollars for homeless help right now, on top of the governor's very strong dollars of $650 million from the CARES Act at the state. We know this moves lives forward. I also want to thank my team, starting with April Brody, who is over here in the back. She is going to have a long, long nap in a couple months. But we know how much work goes into one of these. Imagine being in charge of 24 of these. But we will have 24 on the way to 32 open shortly. In fact, each one of these deserves a month of focus and celebration. But when we're opening up one a week, or sometimes one every day, or as we'll see in a week's time, two on a single day, it is the culmination of her work, the work of her team, of our city staff in many places. You guys made this one easy because of the county's help, the building being here, but nothing's ever easy. And I want to thank her, Caroline Menjivar, who is my representative here in the Northeast Valley as well, for her extraordinary work. And when we open up this, we will now have 24, we'll soon have 24 bridge home shelters. That's 1,800 beds that didn't exist. And sometimes people do the simple math and say, well, 1,800 beds for 60,000 homeless people, how are we going to get there? Remember, this is 1,800 beds that people will come through. They won't stay here permanently. This is a place to stabilize, to breathe, to bring your pets and your possessions if necessary, a place to be able to get the services you need. And I want to thank Lhasa and Heidi Marston, who's just been an extraordinary interim and now full CEO of our Homeless Services Authority. This is the toughest work. As my colleague Mark Ridley Thomas always says, it is not for the faint of heart. It is traumatic work, it is difficult work, but I know that she leads a team of people who are committed on the streets of LA to finding the women whose lives will be transformed, one cohort at a time, through these 85 beds as well. And I want to thank, lastly, the voters and residents of Los Angeles, whether it was passing Measure HHH, which will bring thousands of units on this year and next year of permanent supportive housing that some of the women in here, for instance, will be able to transition to, whether it was passing Measure H at the county level, the country's largest measure on homelessness, passed in a local ballot, which is providing hundreds of millions of dollars a year for the services and the investments and programs like this, or for the folks at the state level, who together actually with the national level, I said 2 years ago we needed a FEMA level response to homelessness. Remember when El Nino was coming, I asked for that, and FEMA said, sorry, we have to wait till people are actually have met the disaster before we give money. Well, the only silver lining I can find some days in COVID-19 is that finally that changed, and the federal government is giving us money before the disaster hits people who are experiencing homelessness. So that federal money that has come together with state money and county money and city money, and then of course the local money that comes through nonprofits and community groups like LA Family Housing are making a huge, huge difference. So don't give up hope, always offer help. And I want to thank a community for coming together, especially here in the Northeast San Fernando Valley, neighborhood councils, and the folks who went to the deep meetings on this, and the consensus that you were able to build with your team, Councilwoman Rodriguez. So I'll stop there. I'm going to turn it over now to the Councilwoman who really has led that way to make sure that the community got behind this. You can't dismiss people's fears. You have to address them and understand them and transform them. And that's the mark of a great leader. I'm so proud that that's what my sister here in arms has done. And please welcome our Councilwoman for the 7th District, Monica Rodriguez. Come on, you can do better.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, it's really quite impressive to be here this morning to see the work that has culminated. It's impressive, and it really, my hat's off to you, Stephanie, for this magnificent facility. Molly, I want to thank you. You know, when I took office 3 years ago, it's no secret that homelessness is the #1 issue affecting communities throughout the city of Los Angeles. And it was at the urging of this moment that we had to do work differently, that we had to bring in all of our partners, whether it was at the state, at the local level with community nonprofit organizations and the county, to help address this dynamic head on. And it was working in collaboration with members of our community that we helped to craft what I think is the best model of a bridge home site here in the city of Los Angeles and here in the community of Sylmar. When 90% of women are disproportionately being affected and find themselves into homelessness as a result of the abuse of some of the personal dynamics that put them into homelessness, this will be a haven for those women to help get themselves back on track. And so I'm proud that in a community like Sylmar, in the community here in the Northeast San Fernando Valley, where so many women and families continue to struggle, that here we will provide these safe havens that will get them back on the street, get them back on their feet and off the street. And so I'm just grateful for the collaborations that we've had here, because again, it's no singular entity that is going to be able to address homelessness alone. It does require all of us partnering. It's why I created the first homelessness task force here in the Northeast San Fernando Valley, which encompasses the working relationship with LAHSA, with LA Family Housing, all of our service providers, so that we can address the challenges in our own neighborhoods directly and head on. Because we know that the impacts of homelessness are unique to every neighborhood. And as a result of that, we need to really look at it at a micro-targeted level. And so I'm very proud of the collaboration and the results that we're able to deliver today in the midst of a pandemic, when times feel, at certain moments, feel hopelessness. Here we have a great deal of hope to offer, and that it's coming out of our neighborhood. I'm incredibly proud with the way this project has turned out. I'm proud of its example of collaboration that has delivered this. And I want to thank my team for their diligence in making sure that we cut all the red tape, that when we hit those roadblocks, we moved around them to get this delivered and get things done. So congratulations to all of those that were involved in helping to facilitate this. I want to especially also thank my partner in the county, Supervisor Kuehl, who's been just an incredible advocate in helping to advance this work. You know, it's as a result of our collaboration that we've not only delivered this project, but we've continued to advance progress in housing the most vulnerable among us. And when we look at the success of efforts like Paxton and Bradley, which was no small feat, where 100% in an encampment was completely housed, that's an example of what happens when people come together in collaboration to get things done. And I'm proud that we're doing that here in the Northeast San Fernando Valley. And so it's with that that I'm proud to next introduce my colleague in the state, who is helping to also advance additional resources that we so desperately need here to be invested in our community, our Assembly member, Luz Rivas.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Mayor Garcetti, Councilwoman Rodriguez, LA Family Housing, and Supervisor Sheila Kuehl. for this partnership. In the State Assembly, I have continued to advocate. I've joined the members of the LA County delegations, state senators and assembly members to continue to advocate for funding that will come to Los Angeles for projects like this that will make a difference in our communities. When I first visited LA Family Housing over 2 years ago as a new legislator, I remember this is the first project that Stephanie told me about, and she was super proud, and she invited me to the ribbon cutting back then. So thank you. Finally, this is a reality, and I know that it required some help through state legislation and bills that were signed by our governor to make this possible. So as a legislator, I continue to advocate for funds, state funding, and also any policy, to remove any barriers that we can that make these projects more difficult than they should be. But as someone that grew up here in the Northeast San Fernando Valley, I also think at the personal level, I think of the 85 women that will have a home, a bridge to a home. I experienced as a child, my family was almost homeless. I grew up with a single mother. It was very difficult to find housing in this area that was affordable even back then. And we met lots of women that were at the brink of homelessness. And if they had had a place like this that would provide supportive services and housing, it would have made a difference. So I am so excited for these 85 women that will benefit from this project. And I'd like to thank everyone that made this possible. And I continue to be an advocate at the state level. Thank you.
Okay, before we cut the ribbon, I really do need to thank our team from LA Family Housing and the partners that made this happen. Leading our effort in our team, and just for COVID reasons, not everybody's here, but I'm glad it's being recorded. Our real estate team is led by Daniel Huynh. Elda Mendez is here with her kids who have been fabulous interns these last couple of weeks as we've wrapped up. You got your shout out, Anthony. And Sylvia Rivera as well from our real estate team. From our program staff, designing and defining what the physical space would look like so that we could ensure we are delivering quality services. I want to thank Chris Freed, our Chief Program Officer, Kim Roberts, who is our Senior Director of Interim Housing, and Kelsey Madigan. The construction team is Pacific National Group. AMJ was our construction manager. Lance, I don't have my glasses on. That's you, yes? Okay, and Egan Simon were our architects with John Egan and Lance Simon. This has been a phenomenal team. And with that, I believe we're cutting a ribbon. So you guys come on up.
Just keep it there. Just keep it there. I don't know. Sorry.
Underneath.
Yeah, I'll get it. I don't know much, but I know what you're doing.
1, 2, 3.